take it from there. And
Yeah.
we'll just kind of say what the synopsis of what she was saying is that a brand audit is really an in-depth analysis of the current state of an organization's brand. So it looks at, of course, the brand's strengths, their weaknesses, any inconsistencies and disconnects, as well as what you do as strength and opportunities the brand can have. And one of the different graphics that we have just showcases all of the different touch points a brand would have. So if you see from this image here, there's everything from a website to an email to signage to everything from online advertising, digital content, staff, customer service. There's so many different touch points that a brand can have when you're looking and analyzing in a brand audit. So for today, the purposes of this particular live stream is we want to focus in on social media audits. Yes. And Myra, let me know if you have any other thoughts about that.
Well, I just wanted to add to, timing of audits. They can be done basically any time of the year. And they can be done for reasons of, like you're changing your business focus, you're finding your branding isn't consistent, or for example, you're losing social media engagement, or your numbers are dropping, your followers are dropping. So that's a good time to do an audit. But also it's the time of the year, it's at the end of the year. If you didn't notice by my sweater here, I love this season. End of the year is the time we always think about doing audits, and because what we do is social listening and social reporting, we focus on all of the social channels and the information that you can get off, Facebook, Instagram, not only social channels, but news, blogs, and forums. What consumer feedback you can get from those channels as well. And so some of the main key things that we look at in a social audit, we're trying to understand like what news sources are saying versus consumer perceptions. So that's one key component. We also do sentiment analysis. We try to identify trends in your industry, and we also do a competitive analysis. That's also very key in a social audit. And also you're analyzing your metrics against your own past performance and your present efforts. So those are some of the components that we focus on.
I think also we can't forget that we also look at your audience. So looking at audience data, like the demographics of your target audience, are you on target for who you are trying to reach, or are you not? Also your content, how well is your content and your engagement? Is it resonating with your audience, or is it performing as well as expected? And then for some brands, we'll look at like even referral traffic. Is social channels driving traffic to your website or to the landing pages that you have? And then lastly, we always like to look at your publishing schedule, because your publishing schedule can have a very direct effect on how well your content is performing. So that kind of rounds out all of the different areas that we would look at when we're performing a social media audit for a client. The reason why we do it is to help the brands like either expand their audience, to learn more about their audience, to help them increase sales, obviously, and raise awareness of their brand. But I think one of the main reasons is that strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, like I think that is really key, even in social, for a brand to really understand what's out there, what they do well, what they can improve upon, and areas of opportunities, because that's where they're really growing. That's where they're really getting that information that they can use to help them plan for the next year, which is why we recommend, usually every brand do a brand audit at the end of the year, so that they can, when they're planning for 2022 or for the next year, they have the insights and the knowledge to be able to create the plan of how they want to navigate on social. What are some of the key use cases that you feel brands actually can do with an audit?
Well, I mean, with the example that we just shared, that particular client, they just had a lull in customers and they wanted to do a whole rebranding process. So they not only sought out a social audit, but there were other pieces of this whole revamp of their brand. But that's one key reason to do it, a revamp of your brand. I think it was like logos and just um, the whole space was, they were just trying to get feedback with their logos and all that. So that's one.
Yeah.
And then our the other one that we do annually with our other client, it's focused on like influencers, how well they partnered or how well their partners perform for them for the year, so they can determine whether or not they want to continue on with particular influencers or if it's time to move on. And also we take a peek at what the competitors were doing with their influencers. So you always have to keep your eye on the competitors. That keeps you one step ahead.
That's true. I mean, I think also to your point, another area is just confirming your branding. Like, and it's a really simple, but it's definitely overlooked, because in the example that you showed, we saw how it was the other brand, like before we did the audit, how inconsistent they were with their bios, or inconsistent with the way that the naming conventions were. So brand audits really do look at like your overall account to see if you are consistent and if it's accurate, if links actually work. We saw broken links for some of the contact information.
Yes, that was
So
a good find.
that was definitely something that you tend to find in a brand audit.
Right.
And then another thing that I think that they're important for is just understanding your customer base. Customers change over time. You shift in and out of a brand and you get new people. So they may or may not, depending upon your audience targeting, be the audience that you actually want. So you want to make sure that whoever you're attracting are the people that you're truly trying to market to. One of the things that I definitely wanted to bring up, Myra, is the checklist.
The checklist. How can you have a brand social audit without a checklist? It's impossible.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
So making sure that you have like just kind of like a checklist that you can use as you're going through the audit process, trying to understand, and some brands even do it with a spreadsheet. I think a spreadsheet or a Google Sheet might be a very simple and easy way to kind of do a checklist of like, here are the things that I want to make sure that I include. And what make those things be, Myra?
Oh, I mean, we got to start with your competitors. I think there's so much insight to be gained from the competitor analysis. So I recommend at least 3, but up to 6. Not more than 6 because it can get too heavy.
Yeah.
That, and then, like I said, sentiment needs to be a part of that. You also have to have your own benchmarks from your previous information, your previous scores. You got to have, I think, a key part also is identifying trends in your industry. And then the consumer perceptions is very, very key, your audience. So those are just a few. But we have a very detailed checklist, right, Marika?
Yeah.
that we can provide as a starting point. If you go to our website, you can go and fill out a form, and we will contact you, and we can provide a checklist to get you guys started.
Exactly. So definitely contact us if you want a free checklist where you can actually get an understanding of all of the different areas that you should be checking in your social media audit that you might want to use for the upcoming year to help you improve and help you create your 2022 social media strategy.